Hello and welcome to the third day of our Vibrant Music Teaching and Vivid Practice birthday celebrations. Vibrant Music Teaching is our membership site with teaching resources, and it's turning 7 on Wednesday. And Vivid Practice is our practice app for teachers to manage assignments and students to practice with at home, and it has just turned 1 year old. So we're celebrating with a week of celebrations, and we're on day 3. I'm going to be drawing a prize winner today for one of the presents behind me from the chat, so do get commenting if you're watching live, because you will be in with a shout of winning. I will choose someone at random from the chat later on. Today, we're inspired by one of the 7 natural wonders of the world again, the Grand Canyon. So we're in the US at a time when probably no one from the US is joining us, but there we go. So we're inspired by the Grand Canyon to talk about gaps in knowledge, particularly things that we don't know, students don't know, and then it comes back to bite us, maybe. So if you have a story of one of those, like you didn't realize for the longest time that this student didn't get X, and then you had to fill in that gap, or something in your own knowledge perhaps that you didn't realize, you didn't know what you didn't know. My hilarious one is that I didn't realize, I think until I was about 18, I'm going to guess I was 18, when I finally learned the correct spelling of minim. For those who don't use that word, that's half note in our UK, Ireland, Australia terminology. Minim, because in an Irish accent it really sounds like it's M-I-N-U-M. So that's how I spelled it until late teens at least, for sure. So I was already teaching by that time. Isn't that embarrassing? And I'd probably written it hundreds of times and taught other students to spell it wrong, but no one had corrected me, so I didn't realize it was an I. Like, I must have read it somewhere, but I just didn't take in that it was spelled differently than the way I was spelling it. So it's M-I-N-I-M, for those who don't know. That's my funny one, but I would love to hear yours. Welcome, Susa. Congratulations on winning a prize earlier in the week. Sunny England, no teaching this Saturday. A usual teaching day. Yeah, because you just teach 1 day a week, right? But we only start next Saturday. Yeah, I know some activities won't get going until a couple of weeks into school. I just find, well, not so true in England and the UK, but in Ireland, our teaching year is so short. Like, your summer break is shorter than ours, so if we don't start right when school begins and teach all the weeks that school is open, we just don't have enough time to teach them anything. I mean, as it is, it's 34 weeks. It's not that many weeks out of the year. So I like for us to get going right away. So yeah, let me know your gaps, whether it's something silly like minim. That's less silly, Juliet. That's impossible. And most people outside of this part of the world, or even people in this part of the world, don't even know the 2 words exist. So you're ahead of the curve. For those who don't know, in the UK and Ireland, in UK spelling, or British spelling as it were, the practice with a C is a noun and practice with an S is the verb. But in American spelling, it's just the one spelling. You don't have the S version. So yeah, we still get comments on the blog being like, you misspelled practice. And we're like, no, we didn't. But thanks for helping. Good afternoon from Australia. Nice, welcome. What part of Australia are you in? I took my students to a piano competition this morning. Oh, amazing! Congratulations, I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's impossible, to be fair. I still get it wrong plenty. That's why we have editors on the blog and why I am not an editor. Rhythm has your 2 hips moving. Interesting. I've never actually gotten the spelling for rhythm wrong, but I do type it wrong. It is hard to type accurately. So I have an automatic, like I have a text replacer on my computers, and that's one of the automatic replacements, is my mistyping of rhythm automatically gets fixed for me. So there's a little sound, and it fixes it. Same thing happens with the word assign. I write that a lot because of assignments and vivid practice and everything. But it is so hard to type when I'm going quickly, GN, when you're so used to writing ing, right? So I write asing, and then it fixes it automatically for me. Just making use of technology. Brisbane, nice. I've never been to Brisbane. Been to a few places in Australia now, but I haven't made it to Brisbane yet. I've been told I should go. So hopefully one day. Okay, so more gaps in knowledge. Let me know what they are. I think this is especially important for us when it comes to transfer students, right? So we have students coming from another teacher, and we need to figure out what they know and what they don't know, because even if the other teacher was excellent, they will have done things in a different order or different way to us. And sometimes they're not so excellent. But either way, we still need to find out where they are. And them saying, I'm grade 2, really doesn't mean anything. Or them saying, I'm level whatever, or I've played such a piece. That doesn't mean that they will have learned the things that we would have expected them to learn by that stage. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that the other teacher was wrong, because there's so many ways to do what we do, right? So one of my favorite things to do with transfer students is to start with games and do some games. Particularly in the beginning, I go with music terms because I find most kids aren't too sensitive about not knowing music terms. Some will be more realize that they should know like the note names or something. And a lot of them will have never heard of an interval. So I tend to start with music terms just to get a general sense of how much theory was covered or that they retained. So a game where they're matching music terms and we can just kind of chat about it. And I'm not at any point saying, oh, you should know that by now, or even really asking them. I'm just seeing what it is that they recognize and don't, and not acting like they should recognize some things. I'm just telling them the answer, like, oh, that's this. And it's not, oh, you don't know that? Well, that's called a treble clef, So I love to start there, and that gives me a general start to figure out where they are. Obviously, you need to get them to play something as well, but you'll start to find what are the students' strengths? What are they great at? And as much as we're talking about revealing gaps today, we actually don't want to focus on those first. What we want to do is make a note to ourselves in our head or on paper is probably better, about what are the gaps that they have so that we can come back to them a little bit later. In the very beginning, we want to give them a certain amount of new stuff, great, but we don't want to throw out what they're already doing well. We actually want to lean into that. My friend Samantha Coates makes a great point, which I think is relevant to this, which is you need to understand why they're transferring to you. Is it because they hated their previous teacher and they want to come to you instead? And that's one frame. Or is it because of something out of their control? And if it's outside of their control, well then we really need to bring them on side. We want to be very extra careful that we don't say anything that could come across as your other teacher did it wrong or you're missing this. We want to be clear and careful that, oh, well, we do things a bit differently here, so we need to, do these various things. This is how we do it here, not this is how it should have been done. So I think we want to play into their strengths. Like if they come to us and they are great at learning pieces by rote, but not so great at reading, we don't immediately want to go, oh my gosh, we have to catch up on reading and do tons of reading work, because we have to develop a relationship first. Just like with a new student, right? We don't throw too much at them in the beginning, even if they're kind of capable of it, because we want to focus on the first few lessons at least being just super fun. And that's true with the transfer student too. So we make a note of those gaps. We start to fill them in later and we make a conscious plan for that, but we don't jump right into filling in the gaps right away. Learn the difference between phonemes and graphemes and mnemonics in college, and thanks to teaching my nieces Jolly Phonics. I guess I was thinking phonics rather than phrases. Oh, well, I think those are all easy mistakes to make for sure. So, when it comes to gaps with our longer term students, how do we stay aware of those? Because I think we can get really too focused. It's really easy to stay so focused on what we're doing today and what's coming up today. Like, I have this plan for a student and we need to get through all this stuff in this lesson, or we need to get to the next piece, or they need to learn about staccato, whatever it is. And we don't often enough, most of us, zoom out and see the big picture. So I think there's a few ways we can do that. My favorite two are to use the curriculum checkpoints regularly, or your own version of that, and then reports to parents. So the curriculum checkpoints is a course inside Vibrant Music Teaching. You can find it in the library if you're a member. And it is basically a checklist of what students might have learned after 1 year, after 2 years, etc. Now, we have a pre-made version, which is basically my curriculum checkpoints, and then we have space for you to create your own. So you start by using mine, and then disagreeing with me about some of those, and just going like, well, actually, I expect way more of them in the rhythm department than you are, or I would never start scales at that stage, or whatever it is. And then you're just checking items off, so it should be quite quick to do. We do this a couple of times a year in my studio, and it definitely, we do it in, because I have another couple of teachers working with me, so we've actually done it in our planning meeting before, all together, and it's very revealing for the teacher. It's not so much about assessing the student, we don't show it to the student. It's about, for us, zooming out and saying, okay, how are they doing with all these things? And for some students, you'll go, oh, actually, I thought they were fine, but maybe they're a little bit further behind what we expect. And what is going on there? Are they practicing? I've assumed they were, but are they? Or are they having trouble with this one area? Have I left oral work to the end of the lesson for weeks and weeks and weeks, to the point where I actually don't know where they're up to with their oral skills, because I've just been deprioritizing it, right? So it reveals a lot. And sometimes for a student that you think is really struggling, it reveals to you, actually, they're fine in most areas. I'm just, in my mind, giving too much weight to this one area, like they can't name their notes or whatever. And I need to have some perspective on that, because that'll come with time. And actually, they're doing great, and I need to go into the lesson with that energy, right? So, let me know if you do a similar process where you have some kind of a checklist for students, or whether you manage this differently to make sure that students are up to certain benchmarks, or not even make sure, just to be aware of where they are ahead of where you might expect them to be, and which areas they are maybe behind and need a bit of catching up, or just need you to be aware of that, so that if it's still a problem in a few years, you do something about it, right? Then we have the parent report. So this works similarly, but it is going to the parents. Now, when I mention progress updates that I give to parents, I always get, oh, but they don't read them. Oh, they don't read their email. How do I make them read them? To be honest, these are for parents. And for the parents that are proactive and do read them, I think it is a great bonus for them, because they love to stay up to date with their student, and their child will get even more out of lessons because of that, because their parent is involved. However, some parents won't read them. And honestly, I don't care. It's not that I don't care, but it doesn't stress me, because the main reason I want us to always consistently do the parent progress reports, even if that parent doesn't read them, is they're for us. Just like your policies in your studio, right? I talked about those being for you. They're not actually for parents. They're for you to set out on paper, these are my business rules that I'm going to stick to, so that you have said in advance what you're going to stick to, and you will uphold yourself to that. So the progress updates are so much for you, not necessarily all for parents. Because even writing it and the process of writing it directed towards the parents makes us really think about each student in a deep way. So, let me know how you deal with gaps and how you find the gaps in your students' knowledge and in their skills. I think it's one of the core parts of our teaching, really. We're going to open a gift very soon. So I'm going to be drawing at random from the chat. So if you haven't commented yet, make sure to add in your comment so that I can have a chance of drawing your name. We're going to be opening one of the prizes behind me. We've got a yellow, a blue, a red, and a purple left. Is that right? Yes. So there's a lot of colors going on over there. I have to check that I'm seeing the right thing. Blue, yellow, red, and purple. I can kind of point to it. There it is. Purple. That's really hard to do. If you've ever tried pointing to stuff on a camera, it's a skill. And I don't really have that skill. I haven't worked on developing it. Yeah, sure. But then I also get emails I don't read, right? Like, maybe sometimes your emails are going to the promotions folder. Do you read every email in your promotions folder? I've met people recently who do, but I definitely don't. So, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I do think it's very easy to go, oh my gosh, what is wrong with people? Because we're so focused on our thing, which is piano lessons, right? And maybe we also are a person who reads every email, is very diligent in general. But most of us have an area of our lives where we go, oh yeah, I need to get to that. And for parents, for some of them, that's us. And that's because their kids are doing so many different things, right? Students who grow out of childhood and into being a teenager, their attitude and interest changes. The gap is growing of myself and keeping their attention. Yeah. I mean, we definitely don't want to still treat them like kids. I feel like that's a transition that we manage quite well in my studio. Once we can get them through the transition from primary school to secondary school, everything is fine. So it's just that 1 year that's maybe a danger zone, and I've worked a lot in recent years on improving that transition and making sure that goes well. And so our students aren't dropping off at that point anymore. And I think that transition of the relationship works really well for us. Yes, of course. The rhythm in the hips, right? I love it. Okay, so I'm going to draw someone at random from the chat. Here we go. I'm scrolling up and down. You just have to believe me on this. I'm not cherry picking, okay? And I'm going to look the other way and I'm picking. Ta-da! Congratulations! I'm pretty sure you're still here. Just give me a woohoo in the chat. Fantastic. We're going to pick your prize. So bring in your votes about which prize we should open. Red, purple, yellow, or blue. Which one will it be? And a big round of applause. Purple, says Zuza. Any other votes? Yellow. What should we open? Oh my gosh. I'll wait until there's a couple of votes for the same color and then I'll open it. That's my system. It's very scientific. Yellow, red, all different so far. You're just voting for red, Serena, because it matches your profile picture. At least in my head. That's why you're doing it. Because I just see red and then you're in a red shirt. So. Joss, I'm going to take that as a vote for red with all the red hearts. Yeah? So that's 2 for red. So I think we're going to open the red one. I hope you're excited. Here it goes. What do we think is inside? This is the shape. What do we think it is? The last 2 days it was impossible to guess. You could guess this though. You definitely could. Okay, I'm going to open it. Sorry if there's rustling. Must be a book. Yes, but which book? Which book? Sorry for the rustling. Sorry. I have to get it out of the way, otherwise I can't do anything. Okay, we have 2 books, in fact. So we have my newest one, Zero to Studio, and Playful Preschool Piano Teaching. So if you already have either of those or both of those, you can let me know if you want to swap them, or we can send them to you anyway, and you can give them to a teacher friend. So, up to you, but that's what's in your prize. And it's red inside red. That was the clue. Not that I said there was a clue, or you expected one, but it's the red book. Congratulations again. Love giving out presents. It's so fun. I feel like that's what I should do on my real birthday, because I prefer giving gifts, honestly, to getting them. It's way more fun, isn't it? Is that just me? It wasn't the rhythm book. Good guess, though. So modes are my gap. I don't do enough of it with my students. I kind of agree with Joss. I do a certain amount. I want them to be vaguely aware of it. But otherwise, it's just if it comes up in their interest for me. Like, oh, there's this thing called mode. I don't really expect my students to remember Ionian, Dorian, blah, 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 blah. That's just not top of my priorities list. I understand why it is for some people. I know that I believe many hymns or certain hymns of certain denominations, I'm sorry, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know people have mentioned for church music, sometimes it's useful to know your modes. Yeah, lots of books. There's books, there's a membership, there's a practice app, there's a lot going on. I know, it's hard to keep track, and you don't have to. Only I do. It's hard enough for me, so don't worry about it. Awesome. Yeah, let us know if you want any changes, and please email us your address so I make sure it's up to date. Email support@vibrantmusicteaching.com. Thank you kindly. Yes, true. So if we're covering some trad music, definitely we're talking about modes and I'm making sure they understand Dorian. It's usually Dorian for trad. But I'm just saying, like, they're sort of an as-needed basis for me in terms of really getting to grips with them. At a certain level of theory, I want my students to at least be able to go, oh yeah, we start C on different keys and, you know, those are called modes. But that's sort of the level I'm expecting. But again, I think we all have to be honest with ourselves about our priorities, because when we try to do absolutely everything, we do nothing and serve no one because it's just scattered. How do I pronounce vivid? Vivid? Is there another way to say that? Vivid is a word that means like a bright color, very bright. It also is used to describe memory, just in case you're not familiar with the word. So like a vivid memory is one you remember very strongly. That's where we got the name from. Hope that helps. Vividpractice.com is the website for that one. Okay, so tomorrow is Silent Sunday. So this is what we're doing. What? I want you tomorrow, and you can do this on your own or you can share it on social media. It is entirely up to you. If you like Instagram or you like Facebook, feel free to share it. Because I would love to see it, and please tag us if you do share it. But if you want to just do this as a personal thing because you don't like to have social media in general, or particularly on a Sunday, then feel free to do that as well. I think it's just something fun. The challenge is a scavenger hunt to try and take a photo of something yellow, something green, something orange, something red, something blue, and something purple. So those 6 colors, and we're looking for those in our life. It'd be very easy for me to do something green tonight, but I'm going to keep myself to doing it tomorrow. Also, it's very easy to do green because I'm in Ireland. I'm going to keep myself to doing it tomorrow. You can do it between today and tomorrow. It's up to you. A photo of each of those colors. The idea is that we notice things that are around us and maybe take a moment to celebrate the beauty of the colors that are in our world. It doesn't have to be very strict, but something roughly that are those 6 colors. And if you do want to share, make sure to tag us on Instagram. You can do the story where you share a grid of 6, or you could do a regular post and tag us there. It's up to you. Or on Facebook, you can post there and tag us as well with your 6 photos once you've got them. I think it could be really fun, and it's another fun celebration of color, which I love. And just an opportunity to tune into what's going on around us, right? So I hope you enjoy that Silent Sunday. Again, 6 colors, take a photo of each of them and see what you find. I really would love it if you shared them, because I just want to see those colors from different parts of the world. I think it would be amazing. I was updating our member map this morning. Some of you may have seen on Instagram stories. I shared a quick video of it. So I have this corkboard map of the world, and I put pins very roughly for members. Like if there's many members, because it's a city, it's a big pin, and it's not very exact, but it's just a beautiful representation of our members and where they are all over the world. And I absolutely love updating it once a month and looking at it and saying, wow, teachers are so cool. That's what I do. So yeah, I was updating that this morning. It just so happens that on my regular routine, it happened to be this morning, but it's in the birthday week, which I loved. And I just appreciate everyone all over the world. So I'd love to see a little taste of different places on our scavenger hunt with those 6 different colors. Please do tag us. We're at Colourful Keys on all the socials. And I hope you can join me then again for our live video. Our next one is on Monday. I'm looking forward to chatting to you then. Bye, everyone.